Hello and welcome back to the shop here. Today we're going to be working on an MS290 Stihl chainsaw. It's been setting up a couple of years. The customer said it won't start. So we're going to do some basic troubleshooting, see why it won't start. He said it ran fine when he parked it. So, that should give us some ideas. So we're going to check the fire, check the compression, check and see if it's getting any fuel. I've already got a full tank of fresh clean fuel in it, so we're just going to start out by checking those three things and get a general direction of where we need to go. I feel of the compression before I ever even start on one, just see what it feels like before I put the gauge on it. Kind of a shade tree compression test, just something to help you out if you don't have a gauge. You should be able to lift the saw off the workbench while with the rope. It's okay if it comes out gradually, a little bit like that, but if you can grab the rope handle and lift it up and the saw stays on the workbench and doesn't even come up, little to no resistance on the rope, you know you've got some major internal mechanical issues. Piston cylinder, that sort of thing, may not be worth fixing. But a compression test is a lot more accurate than that. So let's go ahead and put a compression gauge on it just to see what our compression feels like. While I got this plug out, I'm just going to shine a light down in the cylinder just to look to see if I see any red flags. Look for any scoring or melted aluminum or scratches or anything that looks bad, and I don't see any. Now, a compression gauge with a short hose would be a lot better. This longer hose just means I have to pull it longer, pull it more times. You're going to have to pull it more times with the longer hose. A shorter hose, just usually a couple of pulls would do it, but you always want to pull it till the gauge stops turning to get to be accurate there. So we're going to pull it. Okay, the gauge stopped moving. Looks like about 135 psi, so that's really good. You get around 90 or below, then I have to start questioning whether the saw is worth fixing or not. I've got this spark tester that I'm going to use, but I'll show you if you don't have a tester like this. So I'm going to turn these lights off so we can see this spark. We got a really good spark there. Let me zoom in where you can see it. Alright, that was a really good spark on this little spark tester. If you don't have one of these, you can take like an old spark plug. Make sure it's one that you know is still good. And I just cut the little piece off the end just to make sure that we could jump a pretty far gap. It's a little bit harder for this thing to spark under compression, so you want to make sure that you got a... Alright, now it's going to be hard for me to touch this up against the cylinder where you can see it. This needs to go to ground before it's going to spark, so I'm going to put a little clamp here and run this around the ground, because it's not going to spark unless we can put this plug up against the ground. Alright, there again, let me turn off these lights where you can see this. Alright, you can see we've got a good spark there. Our plug looks okay. Let's leave it in for now. We're not going to put a new one in just yet. We're trying to narrow this down by checking three things: compression, spark, and fuel. So we already got compression. We got spark. The overall saw looks pretty good. So now we're going to check to see if we're getting fuel. This air filter looks like it could really be cleaned. It's dirty, got a lot of sawdust on it. We'll take care of that shortly when we get through our troubleshooting. Okay, I'm just going to give it a little shot of fuel right in the carburetor here, not very much, just a little shot, and then we're going to pull on it to see if the saw will pick that fuel up and burn it. We don't want to put very much in there. Okay, with our basic troubleshooting, we've pretty much narrowed down the problem here. We got compression, we got fire, the overall condition of the saw looks good. We got a tank full of good, clean, fresh fuel. Our line is good and hooked up, it's not leaking. Still wouldn't crank, so we gave it a little shot of fuel there in the carburetor and it picked it up and burned it right away. Just sounded really good. So that really tells us everything we need to know now. We'll go ahead and pull this carburetor off and clean it, kit it, and put it back on, and then we'll try it again. But you know, as dirty as this saw is, what I'm going to do is put the cap back on it, the air filter and the cover. I'm going to take it out and wash it really good before I start working on it, because that way when we kit our carburetor and put it back on there, the saw will be nice and clean. It'll be ready to go back to the customer. So stand by, let me go out here and wash this right quick, and then we're going to pull this carburetor off. Okay, we're back from the wash bay. We got the saw nice and clean. I'm ready to pull this carburetor off and start kitting it. I'm going to take this bar and chain off and block the back of this up so you can see what I'm doing a little better here. Hang on. Hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing here a little bit better. Go ahead and pull this throttle link out here. We got two nuts here holding the carburetor on. Pull them off right quick. A lot faster with a little impact like this, but I'm wanting to go slow so I can kind of show you what I'm doing. I don't want to miss anything. Alright, we got our fuel line coming in this side. We've got the pulse line that's hooked to the block coming over here. Operates our fuel pump, so we're going to try to just pull this a little bit gently. Try to let them come loose. Go ahead and pull our rubber grommet off our adjusters there with our tank vent attached to it. Pull the carburetor on off. There's our carburetor. You can see it's nasty. I don't ever tear a carburetor down that looks this nasty. I'm gonna go wash it off first because we don't want any of this grit getting down in the carburetor. So we're gonna push this saw aside a little bit right here. We're gonna set aside a clean shop towel here that we're gonna put our carburetor on. So I'm gonna go wash this carburetor off and I'll be right back. Alright, we got our carburetor cleaned up here. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. Alright, we're going to go ahead and start disassembling this carburetor. I'm going to take off the fuel pump side first. You can see this line right here. This hooks to the block. Pulses from the crankcase. Operates this fuel pump. This is the fuel pump side. This carburetor has two sides, the fuel pump side and the fuel meter inside. So this is the fuel pump side. It's got one screw right in the center. Alright, here's our fuel pump diaphragm. Looks like it's got old, stale fuel in it. It doesn't have a lot of dirt in it. It does have some. Little screen down in here looks like it's got quite a bit of dirt in it. So we're going to pop this little screen out here. You can see that screen. It does have some dirt in the bottom of it there. So not as bad as I've seen before. I've seen some of them that's worse. So let's go ahead and take our fuel meter inside. There again, this side is full of old, stale fuel, kind of gummy. Our meter and diaphragm is really hard. It should be soft and easy to move. It's kind of hard. I can move it a little bit, but you know, it's pretty stiff. So that's not going to meter the fuel very well. It should be a lot softer than that. I can move it, but it's kind of stiff. What we're going to do is just wash this carburetor with some gasoline just to get the old stale fuel off of it. We just blow that off with some light air pressure, not very hard. We don't want to be too rough with it. You don't want to put your air blower up against these small holes and start blowing. It's just it would be too much pressure. This particular carburetor is a Walbro. Model number is HD. We're going to go ahead and take this metering lever out because our kit's going to come with a new one. Just want to be careful with this spring. Want to be very careful with that spring. If you lose that spring, that can be a problem. So be very careful with that spring. I've just got a little piece of pipe here I use for a carburetor stand. It's very handy. What we're going to do is I'm going to pour a little sea foam right on this meter inside of this carburetor. Let me zoom in a little bit. I'm just going to pour some of the sea foam on here. I'm going to let this soak while I go get my repair kit. And I'll be right back. Okay, here we're back with our repair kit. I'm going to zoom out just a hair. The book is showing that I use a Walbro K10 HD. That's what the book is showing for my repair kit. Now your carburetor in your repair kit for your Stihl chainsaw could be different. So if you go to Walbro's website, you might be able to cross that over with the small numbers and the information on the side of the carburetor. Also, I'm going to put a new fuel filter in it because we had dirt in our carburetor. We don't want that to happen again. I think the main reason this carburetor wouldn't run is because the meter and diaphragm seem to be a little hard. I believe that if this diaphragm would have been softer, it probably would have pumped, it probably would have been able to draw enough fuel through the system to get it to start running, because the fuel pump diaphragm really didn't look all that bad. But we're replacing all of this stuff anyway. We're not taking any chances. We're not going to reuse anything. We're going to put the complete kit in there with the new fuel filter. We've let this sea foam set on here for a little while now, so I'll go ahead and blow it off with light air pressure. We're going to start putting this back together. I like to put the fuel pump side together first because I feel like it helps keep the carburetor cleaner. This is the little screen that goes in the bottom of the carburetor. It's like a secondary fuel filter. We're going to put it in first. You just want to very gently push it in, walk it down. I usually put just a little bit of WD-40 on there. I just feel like it keeps the diaphragm soft until we can get some fuel to it. Helps it seal up. We've got a couple of options on the fuel pump gasket. Just match the gasket up with the one that you have. Or we're going to put a fuel pump cover on, tighten it down. I'm going to get that screw tightened down good and tight there. Now we're going to put our meter and needle our spring, our lever, so we've got our needle in, our spring there. Now we're going to set this lever on there very gently. Go ahead and tighten that down. Make sure that we want to make sure that it's nice and limber. It works. Okay, on this particular carburetor, this lever, when it comes up, it's just pretty much even with the casting on the carburetor. The top of that lever out at the end should be just even with the casting on the carburetor there. If you lay something flat across this casting, it's just gonna barely touch it. On this metering side, the gasket goes on first. On the pump side, the diaphragm goes on first, then the gasket. It's opposite on the metering side. Gasket goes on first, then the diaphragm, then your cover. Once you get them all started, you're going to pull them down together, nice and even. Alright, we got the carburetor back together. Go ahead and put this little vent connector back on. Okay, here's our adjustments. Right here, we have a L over here for low speed. We're going to adjust that one when the saw is idling. We got a high over here for high speed. We're going to adjust that one when it's running up fast. If you adjust this setting to where it's right in the middle of the sweet spot and it sounds really good, you got it too lean. Back it out just a hair. Give it just a little bit more feel because you're going to need it when you start cutting. This is a little old piece of wire here with a hook on the end of it. I actually made this out of an old push-pull choke that I was replacing. It used to be a choke wire, but it broke, so I just put a little hook on the end of it here, and it makes a really good fuel line grabber. You can pick up your fuel line out of the tank really quick with it. Alright, there's our old fuel filter. We're going to chunk it. Put us a nice new one on there. Go ahead and put this carburetor back on here just the same way we came off with it. Make sure that our fuel line plugs in over here and our pulse line from our crankcase plugs in over here. We've got our little grommet that hooks into it over here. We want to be sure and get it back in place there. We've got our little throttle link wire here. We're going to hook it up back where it was. Everything looks good there. Put this piece on there. Our two nuts it holds it on. This would be faster with the little driver tools, but I'm just going slow because I want you to see what I'm doing here. We've got our air filter cleaned off and blew off here. If we were in a kind of a real cold climate, we could put it like this and hot air could blow off the cylinder up into the air filter area, but here in Texas, you know, we never run it that way, so I'm going to put that block off there. Go ahead and put our cover back on. Now we're ready for some good, clean, fresh fuel. We're also going to add some bar oil to it. We just want to test this out to see if it's going to run. I don't have my bar and chain on, so I don't particularly want to do anything other than just make sure it's going to run. Let's see what happens here. Oh, you got to turn it on first. Okay, there we go. Well, I'll say that's a winner. Be sure and visit my website. I'm adding new repair videos all the time, new do-it-yourself projects around the home and farm, just all kind of good videos there, so be sure and check that out. I also have links down below where you can buy the repair kit that I used here, the fuel filter that I used, the spark tester I use. I normally use this little DeWalt driver to take these apart. It's a DeWalt DCF 885. I can do it really quick with this. I can zip the starter off really fast or whatever, but when I'm doing a video like this, sometimes I'll slow down so I don't forget anything. Try to make this as helpful as I can. And for more do-it-yourself repair videos, visit my website. I'll have links down below where we're posting new videos all the time. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.